Hello, and welcome back to Strategy Snacks. I'm Frenchie Ferenczi, and today we are going to be talking about how you can talk about yourself. How great is that? So today's episode is based on a question that came in from Sara Nudd. And Sara and I have known each other for a while now. And she is a certified pediatric nurse and sleep consultant, specializing in maternal mental health needs. After 20 plus years working as a pediatric nurse and her own experience as a mother, she knows how hard and isolating parenting can be. And so she's really created a community and different levels of support to help alleviate that for parents. Her question is really related to her core business, which is the Mama Co-op, which offers evidence-based prenatal and parenting education classes, peer communities, and empowered sleep training for parents to connect and feel confident caring for their children. So really cool stuff. As a mom, I have reached out to Sara and been like, help, I need help with this. And she's always been so kind to support. And so I'm super, super excited to ask this question. Now, Sara had a lot of questions, so that's great because that means more episodes and more to share with you. But today we're going to pick from one. And this is what it is. I have a lot of credentials and experience, but I am not sure the best way to highlight that is I am talking with potential clients without sounding like a weirdo. Love this question because I would venture to guess that if you're listening, you've had this experience in one way or another. Just take a minute, pause, and ask yourself, have you ever worried that you sound like an overly arrogant blowhard who's just listing off your resume and that it's just really unappealing for people? I know I have, right? Raise my hand. First of all, I always like to say that in general, if you're thinking about this, if you're already concerned about it, odds are that you are not overdoing it. And I think there's a couple shifts that need to happen around it. First is you know that you're offering a service that can really help people. You got to this place because of that experience. But what you also know is that people need to trust you in order to work with you. And if people need to trust you in order to work with you, then what that means is that you need to give them the reasons to trust you. And so I know it always sounds like a crock of shit when people are like, you're helping people, let them believe that you're helping them. But they do deserve to have the information they need to actually feel like they're making the right choice because it is helpful for them. So that's the first thing that I just want to put some context around. Now, I want to distinguish you talking about your experience and how you've learned and what you've seen and what you've learned. I want to distinguish that from another conversation, which is, let's say, in the coaching world, promising results or only sharing the client stories and client experiences that show what one version of success could look like, right? And so sometimes we'll see, let's just say it's a fitness coach and all the testimonials on a page and all the stories they tell are about the person who suddenly went from carrying 5 pounds to 100 pounds and has never felt better in their life. That is wonderful, but that's not everybody's results. But that's not what you are doing when you're talking about your credentials. What you are doing is you're actually talking about facts. And so to go back to this idea of what are my credentials? What are my credibility markers? So you're right. You don't want to just ramble. We can just call it jamble too. Ramble off just a list of credentials. So there's a couple ways to go about it that can be really helpful. And this is true in your content, in a conversation. I personally really struggle with talking about myself in the concrete ways, so I get it. But here's what I would recommend. One is storytelling. So storytelling is an excellent way to do that. One simple way, if you've been a pediatric nurse for 20 plus years, you can pull back to a story from 20 years ago. 20 years ago, when I first started nursing, I XYZ. So that already starts to establish that length of time without being like, I've been a nurse for 20 years, and over the 20 years, blah, blah, blah. Or if you're talking about a specific topic, I've helped parents train over 150 babies. I'm sure it's more than that. And as I've done that, I've seen that the biggest challenge is X, Y, or Z. So I think relating your credentials to the benefits of what the potential clients can get from working with you is really important. And that can be through story, that can be through sharing certain like success statistics or markers. That can also just be a matter of thinking about why it's relevant to the other person. Why does that person want to know that about you? Why should they know that about you? How is it helpful for them? When we make those kind of credibility markers and credentials about us, that's when it feels weird and it lands in an icky way on the recipient. If instead you make it about them, right? I get where you are. I've worked with X number of parents, and every single one who has started working with me has had a similar experience as you have had. So tying it in to one, just stories, tying it into the benefits, success, outcomes, and then also building empathy around it, using your experience to really connect to that empathetic side of you that I know you have. And this is true in your experience, right? This is true I see this a lot on calls with people where people will be like, is it bad that I just feel like the hardest part is knowing my next step? And that's when I'll be like, I've worked with dozens and dozens of clients, and at this point, I can tell you that everybody starts with that feeling, right? And so really bringing that in. Or I've also done this where, let's just say, people will be like, how does this work? Or how do you know this works? And I'll be like, when I was working in startups, I saw this working at a scale with businesses that were valued at hundreds of millions of dollars. And so by using that, it is giving that context without it just feeling like this, like just word vomit of all your credentials. So Sarah, I'm excited to see more of your content talking about everything that you've done, everything that you have to offer and bring to the table. And remember, it is amazing that you've had all these successes, but what your people want to know and hear is how all that success, everything that you've done, how the culmination of all of it will land and will benefit them. So that's what you get to do. You get to show them that. I can't wait to hear anyone listening what takeaways you have from this. How can you share more about your credentials in a way that feels organic and authentic? I can't wait to hear thoughts, ideas. Please DM me, ask me more questions. That is what we are all here for. And we'll be back with more strategy snacks very soon. Bye-bye, everyone.